that I report to the House any petition other than those presented by a member. And further, Article 119 of the Constitution provides for the right of any person to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including petitioning the House to enact, amend, and/or repeal any legislation. In this regard, therefore, honourable members, I wish to report to the House that my office has received a petition from Mr. Patrick Kaberia of ID card number 22319488, calling for, in brackets, amendment to the Universities Act 2012 in order to provide for the engagement of alumni, associations, and other stakeholders in resuscitating, rejuvenating, and supporting public universities in Kenya, close the quotes. The petitioner, who introduces himself as the Executive Director of PAWA Africa, which is a civil society organization specializing in socio-economic development and governance, bemoans what he terms as a sad state of public universities in the country. He highlights poor leadership, mismanagement, deteriorating debt levels, lack of inclusivity, lack of accountability, failure to comply with gender and regional balance, and inadequate public participation are some of the ills facing these institutions of higher learning. In particular, he views the exclusion of alumni associations and other stakeholders in decision-making as a root cause of this ongoing concern, which has led to some universities to face near collapse, auction of university property, as well as public ridicule. He is thus convinced that involvement of alumni associations would go a long way in addressing the aforementioned challenges, as well as in securing support, national pride, prosperity, and global competitiveness of universities through the resultant improvement in quality standards and management. Honourable members, the petitioner seeks the intervention of this House in amending the Universities Act 2012 in order to, among other things, 1, replace the word may in section 42 of the Act with the word shall in order to compel universities to establish alumni associations, and 2, empower university alumni associations to nominate representatives to the respective university councils, university senates, management boards, committees, and other organs, in addition to managing an endowment fund. Honourable members, having determined that the matters raised by the petitioner are well within the authority of this House, I order and direct that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 227.1, the petition be committed to the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. The committee is required to consider the petition bearing in mind that the House is already seized of the Universities Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2021, and report its findings to the House and the petitioner in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order 227, subsection 2. I thank you. Next. Next. Sorry, I can see a few members who want to comment on this. You know, it's very interesting that on the normal speaking list, the first person is the Honorable Ole Sankok, and on the column for interventions, the first person is none other than the same Honorable Sankok.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
The early bird that catches the worm.
Yes, exactly, Honorable Speaker. You know, I come here before you and I leave after you because I have to earn from my sweat after working here, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, you have taught me a lot as our leader, and you are a presidential candidate, and that is why we really do support you. Honorable Speaker, I support the petitioner because our universities have really deteriorated in terms of education. It was just the other time that so many degrees were declared null and void, and that they are not marketable, Honorable Speaker, after students using their time and resources in studying, Honorable Speaker. So what the petitioner is requesting is that alumni be involved in the management of the university, which I really concur, and in decision-making, Honorable Speaker, and I do support. Honorable Speaker, if you allow me 1 minute, there is somebody by the name, an artist by the name Eric Omondi, who is just gauged outside Parliament here, Honorable Speaker, and he wanted us to start a discussion of 75% play of contents, local contents, with contents, local contents, 75% play of local contents within our audiovisual media, Honorable Speaker. And I think you have the point, Honorable Speaker, because Tanzania and Uganda have done the same. So, Honorable Speaker, because it's gauge outside, and I have a key here to the gauge, and I will only go and open now that you have given me the permission to start the conversation. He told me once the conversation started, then I'll go and open for him to be released. So I support the petition, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Manzo, Honorable Makweni.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the alumni of any university are very important, and ordinarily people are proud of the university they went to. Like, I'm very sure that people who went to University of Nairobi are very proud and have very good memories of their own university. Mr. Speaker, the university. Mr. Speaker, today it's appalling that students are even cooking in the hostels. They no longer enjoy the privileges we once enjoyed. They never underwent the good life once upon a time the universities lived. And I believe if the alumni are involved in one way or another, like seconding somebody to the Senate or whatever level of management of the university, will help much more. And even some of the former students could come back and teach at the same university or lead it. And I think, Mr. Speaker, this petition is valid. We need to support it so that we can revive our universities and make sure that even other students from other countries would like to come and study in our universities. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Sossion.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. This petition is extremely legitimate, and the role of alumnus in having a say in the running of universities is indeed essential, considering the provisions of good governance in our Constitution, Article 10 of public participation. This group of stakeholders must be involved in the day-to-day running of institutions and have a greater say. And therefore, there will be need, even as this petition goes to the Education Committee, to relook at the legal framework so that their role is entrenched and it is cast in law. It will not be a mere wish or pronouncement, particularly at this time when universities are collapsing. We know universities are collapsing out of poor funding. There's need to have universities be funded at least at 2% of the GDP to achieve their mission in research, and to be funded also substantially so that they can achieve their mission of teaching and community development. This petition is valid, and the committee should be able to dispose of this petition at a shorter time in the best interest of our education system. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Rangwe.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I rise up on two matters. One, I saw Honorable Sankok speak without his mask on, and I've made also this observation with several members of the National Assembly. I don't know if we are now officially allowed not to wear a mask. There is no social distancing, and I don't know if we are allowed now not to follow the COVID protocol. Having said that, I think this petition is very valid. Honorable Speaker, at Egerton University, there is a cohort of students, medical students, who have been in that university close to 8 years to earn a basic degree. And there are many issues with our public universities now. There is perennial strike, there is perennial pending closures of these universities. And I think that even more needs to be done other than including alumni in the running and management of these universities. I think more needs to be done even to salvage our universities from complete extinction. So I should think, Honorable Speaker, that this petition is valid and needs to be looked at on a better matter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also wish to make some comments on this particular petition. Honorable Speaker, if alumni are involved in the management of the universities will change. They'll change for the better, because those who have gone to those universities, we will have a lot of interest. We'll have a lot of pride about the universities, but it looks like the current management of the universities don't have really interest in the institutions. That's why most of them are run down. The pride of universities that we used to know, like University of Nairobi, Kenyatta University, have gone down. So I think it is important that we involve those who studied there in the past, even high schools, so that they regain the lost glory. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Honorable Danita Gatti.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to support this petition. And Mr. Speaker, I do not know why we have not thought of it in this House, Mr. Speaker, because I know the role that alumni associations play in enhancing, education, for example. Mr. Speaker, so many times I am a graduate, for example, of Kenyatta University locally here, Mr. Speaker. And anytime I feel like I want to give back to my university, I have to go and request the VC to give me a chance to do something, Mr. Speaker. And for me, if this is something that we can put with a structure, Mr. Speaker, it can help. Mr. Speaker, I also happen to be a graduate of Columbia University in New York City. Mr. Speaker, Columbia University has its offices in Nairobi here, where I am an alumni, together with the former CJ, Dr. Willie Mutunga, and Smokin Wanjala, and so many other Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, who are alumni of Columbia in Kenya. And we give back to Columbia, Mr. Speaker, in so many ways, encouraging students who want to go abroad to study, and so many other things, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for me, the whole thing of establishing alumni association, for me, Mr. Speaker, is right before this House. And Mr. Speaker, once we have that, Mr. Speaker, many of us, even members of parliament who are seated in this House, will be able to give back, Mr. Speaker, to mentoring our students, to helping, Mr. Speaker, tackle issues that affect education in this country. Mr. Speaker, even as questions, Mr. Speaker, and so many issues appear even before Parliamentary Committee on Education, Mr. Speaker, alumni are able to actually give their input to ensure that education, Mr. Speaker, in this country is actually something that we take seriously and we take on board. So, Mr. Speaker, allow me to support and thank the petitioner for bringing this petition before this humble House. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Kamukunji. You didn't know what you wanted. You placed an intervention.
I wanted to, even yesterday I had requested.
No, not yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to also add my voice to support this important issue on university and alumni. I can also tell you that my university, although it has been many years since I left it, continues to follow me. My university in the United States, I'm a graduate of Tufts University, Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, and they seek my support. I contribute to their well-being. I sponsor some students, and therefore, here in Kenya, none of the universities put a lot of emphasis on supporting and seeking the support of the alumni. I think it is important to emphasize the critical role of these people who have been educated in those institutions, who are holding senior position. For example, the Nairobi University could make millions and get millions of contributions because the entire creme de la creme of the Kenyan leadership is from that university. And it can even be funded sufficiently by the support of the alumni. Therefore, I consider the alumni as an important part of any education institution. Let them learn also from other experiences like the United States, where they nurture and continue to support and hold their old students as part of the university establishment and involve them in the decisions of the university. For example, recently my college changed its colors, and the alumni community made such an outcry. They reversed that decision and retained the old colors, and they're now consulting all the students all around the world on how they can go forward in rebranding the institution for the future. So I support, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Dagoretti South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I do think that the petitioner is making a good case, because when you think about it, the alumni of any university hold the institutional memory of the institution. Whatever ideas they have for the universities are actually great ideas that can be put into use, especially at a time like this when public universities are under a big attack from cartels that want to run education to become a private enterprise. Mr. Speaker, I am an alumni of Kenyatta University. And while I was at Kenyatta University, the best thing I was known for is comedy. And comedy is an art that can pay hustlers, Mr. Speaker. I could have some ideas that could help Kenyatta University to institute good ideas on how creative economy can be brought up within the universities. And talking of the creative economy, as we speak now, members, there is a hustler outside Parliament who is locked in a cage, who is championing for 75% airtime for local content on our stations, our radio stations, our TV stations, and any other platform. So members, kindly let us support this drive to have local content on our TV stations, on our radio stations, and Honorable Sankok and I will report to this hustler who is locked in a cage outside the Parliament that the Parliament is ready to support 75% of our population who are the youth who are involved in the visual and performing arts in this country. Let us do what is right for the artists. Let us do what is right for the country. Let us do what is right for the youth. And I do support the petitioner on the issue of involving the alumni. I can see Honorable Sankok is in possession of the key on the cage that Eric Omondi is locked in. So soon after this, we shall report to the creative economy sector that we are actually unlocking our artists, because this house is ready to pass 75% content of airtime for our artists. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that this petition actually makes some sense. And Mr. Speaker, the issue of alumni in universities would actually, if we allow the alumni to actively participate in universities, it will help grow universities in leaps and bounds. My university, I'm an alumni of Kenyatta University for both my bachelor's and my master's degree. But, and they know I'm a member of parliament, but they have never even tried to consult, even invite me. Once I tried to enter the gates there, I say I want to pay courtesy call to the VC, they stopped me at the gate. They don't know how important an alumni is, and not just an alumni, but an alumni who is a member of parliament. When they had issues, Kenyatta University had issues here with the Kenyatta Hospital Referral Hospital in our committee. I was there trying to help my university, and I told the Vice Chancellor, you know, I'm an alumni. What issues do you have? But these Vice Chancellors don't seem to understand the importance of alumni associations and alumni of universities, such that they could help raise funds from them. I'm also an alumni of Pennsylvania State University. But I make a contribution each month to that university because they recognize me. They send me emails. If they have an event, they inform me. And I make $1 or $2 contribution there. So countries out there know the value of alumni. But our vice chancellors here, most of them who have actually studied outside this country, they have studied in the United States, they have studied in Britain and many other countries. They cannot bring best practices from those universities to come and help the universities here. I do not know who they serve or what they serve. But I think we need to change the culture of managing universities so that we can strengthen alumni association and also partnership with companies, partnership with big organizations so that they can help education. It's very sad when a student of medicine drops out of a university because it does not have fees, and yet alumni association would have helped that student pursue a degree and help this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to contribute this and actually pass a message to the vice chancellors. They need to up their game so that we can make our universities better in this country. I thank you.
Member for Kitui West.
Thank you, Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me say that I support this petition on the involvement of alumni in the management of universities. there are very many advantages of the alumni being involved in the running of the universities, especially since they have gone through this education, that education system in the universities. They can serve as role models and also mentor our students. And this would mean that the many strikes which we witness most of the time will actually be reduced, because the alumni acting as role models, they will see people who have also made it in life, and they will also give counsel to our students. The alumni would also help in coming up with the best curriculum, because they are exposed to the market, and since they're in the market, the alumni won't know which curriculum, which subjects should be taught in the universities, instead of just bringing up students or graduates who are not even required in the market. Since the alumni are in the market, they will be able to advise the universities on the best subjects to be taught. The alumni also have business connections, and they can also organize for the students, for the graduates, to also get jobs and also direct them in the right way to actually study and also be observed into the market. The alumni, it would also be advantageous to them, because they would also have network and form connections which will also help them in the businesses. And in so doing, they'll be able to observe these graduates into getting some jobs. And they would also give good ideas to the universities, so that the universities are run better. The alumni will also be happy to even ensure that the universities are run better than the way they left them. And in doing so, the education system in our country would largely improve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support the petition.
My own interpretation of the body language of the Honorable John Olagwaluoch is that he has been unable to press the intervention button, but since I can see your name, now you've touched it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, an in-depth examination of this petition by the committee will disclose that it raises very fundamental issues, very pertinent issues, that go beyond just amending the law to include alumni in the composition of the senates and the councils. Mr. Speaker, I disagree with Honorable Sossion. The problem with the university is not underfunding, it's actually management. And if the alumni can input management skills in our universities, the better. Honorable Gogo has just mentioned that Egerton University, there are students who have taken 8 years for 5-year or 6-year courses. Mr. Speaker, it is even worse at Moi University School of Medicine, where medical students who are on a 6-year course are already taking more than 8.5 years in that university. If students at the Moi Medical School, some are coming from very poor families, would they be able to continue as students in that university? Mr. Speaker, I think the time has come where the House should take a hint from what this Kenyan has now said in that petition. Issues to do with financial management and also general management of the universities. So that the issues like nepotism are also removed from these universities. Mr. Speaker, if this petition is dealt with the way I think it should be dealt with by the Education Committee, then action should be taken to amend the law, include alumni, and reduce cases of mismanagement of finances and nepotism in our universities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Finally, member for Tharaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me add my voice to this, and especially due to the fact that in the Western world, alumni associations are very important in the running of institutions, running from university to even high schools. I know for sure that some universities in Kenya have tried to form alumni associations so that they are able to tap the talent from old students of that university. The Catholic University of Eastern Africa, we have even Nairobi University trying to form that association. These associations are vitally important. And one, they are ordinarily used in fundraising so that needy students going to those universities are actually assisted. They are also important in the day-to-day running of those universities to ensure that there are no breaches of either law or either management, financial accounting, etc., etc. As we amend the Universities Act to include the alumni, I also believe that we should be looking at the Education Act so that we can cascade this down to our high schools. Many high schools have very important persons, being old girls, old boys of those schools, but no one makes use of them because they do not have these associations, which are very important for purposes of education. I am an alumni of Mangu High School. We do not have a strong old boys association for that matter. I have lost Kaberia High School, which used to be a public school. Now it's a private school. Again, we would have difficulties with this. But if we really had a law that is in place, we are able to go to circumvent, we are able to go around problems associated with the alumni, the old boys, or the old girls of our schools. I therefore support this petition.
To the on education.